Welcome everyone to this edition of Catapult Me. This is a follow-up on our recent webinar called Conquer the High Cost of Content Marketing. Catapult Me, as you know, is a free webinar for startups. We usually do a conversation and then we follow up that conversation with something like this, an executive summary, where we take apart some of the ideas that we discussed in that free-flowing conversation. All right, so here we go. Our last webinar was a conversation with Alyssa White, the founder of matchasource.com. And she talked about a lot of apps and techniques she used to track her success. So that's what we're going to talk about here, basically KPI and measurement. Some of the apps and techniques that she used for KPI and measurement include Google Analytics, Google's free URL builder, yes, free, I'll talk about that in a moment, Optimizely, Infusionsoft, Shareasale, and SWOT Analysis. So let's dig into each one of those. I'll tell you a little bit about each one. Now, Google Analytics, you all heard of that, right? It's installed on your website by yourself or by your webmaster. You can access it by going to google.com/analytics. Now, the great thing about Google Analytics is there's so much data. And the bad thing about Google Analytics is there's so much data. You look at all this and you don't really know where to start. So I'm going to give you a broad overview. You can get really deep with Google Analytics. It's a webinar in itself. I just want to hit on a few high points here to help out. Now, one of the first things I like to do is adjust the date range. So I'm looking at the entire year. And that's what you're looking at here. You see a lot of little ups and downs, but you also see a lot of interesting repeated oscillations and a few peaks. And what I like to do, of course, is go back and see, hey, what caused that big jump early in the year? And later in the year, what caused that relatively even oscillation? In my case, I can tell you that it was a book release that caused the big jump, and it was a regularly published newsletter that helped those oscillations appear. In your case, it'll be something completely different. But it's worth it to take the big view like this. Now, after I do this, here's what I do next. I click on the acquisition menu over on the left side and dig into all traffic by source medium. This gives me a really broad overview of where people are coming from on their way to viewing my site. A lot of people are coming just via Google organically, meaning via search, and a lot of people actually put in the URL redcupagency.com and come there. But things get interesting when you see all those Twitter references. Twitter is probably my best source of getting people to show up to my website, followed by my newsletter. You'll see down here too that I posted a job, and posting a job is a great way to get people to come to your website because they check you out. Now, if I dig down a little bit deeper here into the social network tab, I've clicked on social and then overview. You get a bit more data there, and you can see that Twitter, wow, way out in front. Most of the people who are showing up come from Twitter. And then in decreasing order, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, etc. So that tells me, hey, wait a minute, I ought to be doing a lot more on Twitter to get people to come to my website. That's a pretty good way for people to find me. So I want to maximize this. I want to take a look at this trend and really build on it. So that's the big view of Google Analytics. It can get very deep, very complex. You can look at campaigns. You can pull your AdWords data in there. Quite a lot you can do. But that's just the big overview. A wonderful way to get really granular and get some real detail into your campaigns is to use Google's free, yes, free URL builder. It's a plugin for Chrome, and what it allows you to do is put some invisible to the user code that lets you see where people come from, the medium, the content, even give it a campaign name. And this allows you to really understand which landing page worked, which didn't, which link got most clicked on, which didn't, which Twitter campaign connected or Facebook campaign connected, which didn't. And you can really dig into this and get a lot of data and really learn quite a bit about what's effective, what brings people to your website. Now, this is the do-it-yourself method, and you have to build each link individually. So yes, that's a lot of work. There are, however, some easier ways. Optimizely, as the name suggests, allows you to optimize conversion rates. You really, using this app, which is a paid app, you get to test how people use your site. And you really get a sense of getting people to do what you want them to do when they visit your site, like, say, buy something or sign up for a mailing list. With Optimizely, you can test variations of your home page or selling page or landing pages. Really useful, very detailed, does cost money, worth it if you really want to know what's selling or what's not, or the behaviors of your web visitors when they come to your page. Infusionsoft is an even more complete solution. You get to connect up your customer lists with the way people behave on your website. And it gives you follow-up methods for connecting with people after they've visited the site. So if you can picture this, step back for a moment. People are pinging off your website all the time, right? And you have that data set. And people are on your mailing list, and you might be sending them, sales letters or periodic updates or quarterly newsletters. That's another data set. What Infusionsoft does is marries those two data sets. You get to see what your e-commerce shopping cart is doing and connect that up with what's going on with your mailing list. So a really simple way to state this would be if someone hasn't bought something in a while from your site, Infusionsoft will know that, and you can send out an email to all those people, hey, why don't you stop by? Something's new, or we have a sale, or something's changed. And Infusionsoft will know, of course, because those people have not pinged off the site recently. Or if someone puts a lot of things in their shopping cart and doesn't consummate the sale, Infusionsoft will know that, and you can send them a follow-up email. Hey, I noticed that you got started but didn't finish. Is there something I can do to help? So you can see that there's immense power in Infusionsoft. There are a few other apps similar to it, like Mandrill, which is run by MailChimp, SendGrid, another one, a competitor, that does this kind of detailed work. Infusionsoft is extremely popular, pretty easy to use, and does a wonderful job of connecting those two data sets, your customer list and the data set of people who show up to your website. Infusionsoft is not cheap, starting at about $200 a month for a basic subscription, but those who use it love it, so it's worth checking out. Another platform that Alyssa and I spoke about is called Shareasale. It's a platform that helps you build affiliate marketing relationships. Now, what is affiliate marketing? Basically, you can recruit people to help sell your product for you. Your product ends up on other websites and people will see it and jump in. It helps you partner with those who might have an affinity with what you're selling. A lot of people swear by affiliate marketing. They just love it because it creates a group of passionate people who are basically helping you sell your product, helping you get more people to your website. And of course, there's a commission on sales. So if that fits your model, that's something you see is possible for you, check out shareasale.com. Finally, a tool that Alyssa used and spoke about in our webinar is a conceptual tool, SWOT Analysis, taking a good look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities that are available to you, and threats. Now, SWOT analysis is not new. It was originated by a man named Albert Humphrey in the 1960s. You can use it in two ways, just as a simple kind of an icebreaker to help think about strategy and brainstorm, or you can look at it as a way to really deeply examine, take a deep dive into what your business is doing and could be doing. A very simple way of describing what it is just looking at what you're good at and what you're not good at, and being honest with yourself about what your weaknesses are. Looking at opportunities can be a valuable exercise, especially done in a group setting where everyone's kind of brainstorming, because you get to think about where you haven't tried to talk to people yet. You get to go into new territories. Looking at threats, it's a little scary, that word, but I view that as competitors, people who are working in your space as well. What are they doing that might be better than what you're doing? And by the way, I use this all the time working with clients because I will always ask a client, well, who's doing what you're doing? In other words, who's your competitor? And let's take a look at how they're doing it. And maybe we can learn something from them, and maybe we can do it better than they do it. But it all has to do with taking a look at these threats, like we'll call them, or competitor analysis, and deriving some opportunities from that. Also, the strengths and weaknesses, I can talk about this a lot with clients because we get into this when we're talking about media creation and content creation. What are your strengths in content creation? What do you really like to do? What are your weaknesses? What do you really hate to do? What do you not want to produce much of? Like if you're not a writer, you may not want to do blogs, but you may love doing blogs. Or if you're a visual person, you may want to do more visual material to put out in the world of content. So that's my quick summary of SWOT analysis. Worth a deeper look if you're doing a company retreat or a solo retreat with yourself, just to think about in this new year where your company's going. Coming up in January, we have some really exciting stuff on Catapult Me. We're doing the next one about building an online culture. It'll be a detailed examination of a new website called fovo.com. There will also be a bonus webinar about creating your audiobook for audible.com. I had such a good time creating my book and posting it on audible.com. I did it through an Amazon platform that I wanted to share this with you, so I've invited my producer, narrator on the webinar, and we're getting someone from Amazon or Audible to talk about how you can do this. It's a very low cost, in fact free if you want it to be, way of putting out your book in audiobook form. So that's coming up in January, both webinars. Have a great holiday break, and we'll see you then. I'm Lee Schneider, Communications Director at Red Cup Agency.